Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here to explore the cosmic current with you all. Whew, this eclipse wormhole that we have been in has been something, and it continues to be something. It, you can probably hear in my voice, in my sinuses, that for myself personally, it has come through with a massive ascension flu. And I'm not surprised considering the way that the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse are activating on my personal natals. The beautiful energy that we're navigating is beautiful in a very metamorphic sort of way. And the Pisces lunar eclipse is what we're here to talk about today. We're going to keep this update pretty tight. I was hoping that I would have had another one in between here where we could have talked about the Ascension Feast on the 15th, but this Ascension flu asked me personally to go deep within. Now, we're going to play with this cosmic current, navigating it from my own personal, so that as a sort of way shower, we can explore what you might have been experiencing as we've moved through this portal between the solar eclipse in Leo and the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is the final eclipse in that Pisces Virgo axis. The nodes have now fully shifted into Leo and Aquarius, South Leo, North Aquarius. This eclipse, partial lunar eclipse, is occurring at 9:18 p.m. in the Pacific time zone on the 27th of August, which means for most of the planet, this eclipse will occur on the 28th, in the wee hours of the 28th or thereabouts. It's occurring with the Sun conjunct Mercury, Sun at 4 degrees of Virgo, Moon, or Mercury at 5 degrees of Virgo, and the Moon directly across the way at 4 degrees of Pisces. Now, when I say this is, we're going to navigate this current from my personal natal so that we can start to get a feel for what's on offer for all of us collectively, I will share that my personal moon is at 4 degrees of Pisces. Which means that the moon is directly conjunct my personal moon during this lunar eclipse. So when I said I'm not surprised that it's an ascension flu was something that came through for me and that it would be so heart chakra, the lungs, congestion, throat chakra, rising up in that expressive vein, that expressive current, bringing things from deep within. Now, one of the things that I had as I was coming out of this, like the deep solo journeying part of this metamorphic event was to have an acupuncture treatment from a friend of mine. And if you've ever had acupuncture, you'll know they take the pulse, right? And they take all the different pulses, not just the heart pulse. And my friend told me, oh, your lung pulse is really deep. And as I was sitting there on the table with the needles, preparing my system for the cupping that would happen on my back afterwards, I felt that there was this movement from the deepest depths of me, and that the reason that even though everything seems like it's so on the surface, when you have a lot of congestion, it feels very surface. My lung pulse was deep because everything that was on the surface was that which had been in the depths before. When we think about the moon, Now let's look at what a solar eclipse is compared to what a lunar eclipse is real quick, okay? A solar eclipse, the moon passes between the sun and the earth. The moon, our unconscious, passes over our outward facing self. So it brings all of that unconscious stuff to the surface. You feel how this ascension flew and the deepness of the lungs. The lungs are emotional, especially when it's congestion, watery energy, right? All this fluid coming to the surface, right? Fluid, the emotional depths, and Pisces is very connected to the emotional depths. Not in the same way that Scorpio is connected to the emotional depths and that transformation, that occulted wisdom way, but more in the transcendent, dreamy, shamanic, higher heart way. It is bringing us through a cycle into the new. Pisces is the last sign in our Western tropical zodiac, right? It's that 12th house energy right before we tip into the new, the next rung of the spiral. So, a lunar eclipse, if a solar eclipse is the moon, our unconscious passing over top of our outward expression, our solar state of being. The lunar eclipse is the earth passing between the moon and the sun. Now, the sun, our outward expression, the sometimes egoic self, the I am, it is that part of ourselves that we show to the world, our sun sign, right? Our moon, the unconscious territories, that space and place where we navigate our more watery dimensions, our more fluid dimensions, right? The sun is often a masculine symbol, right? In many traditions, the moon is that feminine, right? The receiver and the giver is another way to look at that. The earth is the physicality, right? So when we have a solar eclipse, we have our unconscious passing between the part of ourselves that we show to the world and our physicality. When we have a lunar eclipse, we have our physicality passing between the outward expression of ourselves and our inner workings. So a Pisces lunar eclipse with the sun in Virgo conjunct Mercury. The sun in Virgo conjunct Mercury. Let's go there first. Mercury, expression. Remember, this is my throat chakra. This is our collective throat chakra, our sense of expressing ourselves more wholly, Virgo, perfecting our capacity for sharing ourselves wholly, coming into a capacity to be a physical representation of our wholeness. That's what's on offer with the sun conjunct Mercury in Virgo. As the earth passes between the sun and the moon in Pisces, as a moon in Pisces, I can tell you that this is a fluid expression. It is empathic to the nth degree. It feels every fucking thing. And it can be really hard moon in Pisces to differentiate between that which is I am feeling and that which is the collective feelings around yourself. Finding your true individual frequency with the moon in Pisces can be difficult because there is so much in the harmonics. Which one of those chords is actually mine and which one is the frequencies that I'm picking up on the expanded radio dial I have access to? This is true for those of us who have a moon in Pisces, and this is true for us collectively as the moon in Pisces experiences this eclipse. The entire Earth, basically, we could say, is getting to experience what it is like to have a moon in Pisces as the moon passes through the sun, or as the Earth passes through the moon and the sun. So yes, ascension flu. Now, you may have noticed since that August 12th solar eclipse that you have been feeling a lot. It may have come through as exhaustion. It may have come through as an ascension flu like mine, where it's very pulling up from the depths, bringing everything deep within up to the surface to be viscerally, physically experienced. It could be that you're sensing the energies, the auras, the vibes of the spaces that you move through more viscerally, more physically. You notice all of a sudden that you walk into a room where an argument took place an hour earlier, and you feel it in your gut. You feel it in your heart. You're feeling more of that band, that radio dial, the experiences that a grid point, a house, a person that you're interacting with more intensely. Part of this is the quantum leap, the evolutionary, elevationary, collective metamorphic event that we are experiencing. One of the things that came through as I've been meditating on this cosmic current is that we are moving from a sort of stasis, an evolutionary stasis. Now, nothing is ever fully in stasis, right? We have had jumps, we have had leaps. And if you look back to what was occurring in the 1980s, what was occurring in the 1880s, you can see these technological quantum jumps. You can see the difference. I remember I remember seeing this meme on Instagram when I was still on those types of socials that showed a picture of what 35 looked like in 1975 compared to what 35 looked like in 2025. And it was stark, right? The physical presentation of a 35-year-old in our current era compared to just 50 years ago is significant, right? We have different diets, we have different language, even. And so when we talk about we're moving from a stasis point, a seeming standstill, into a quantum leap, part of what we're really talking about is that we're moving from the appearance of slow transitional changes to a massive eye-opening experience. Now, this particular lunar eclipse is going to be opening the heart, opening the mind. We have the sun and Mercury. It's very upper chakras, heart and up, this lunar eclipse. It's the higher heart. It's the throat. It's the causal. It's the third eye. It's the crown, the stellar gateway, the soul star. It's bringing our awareness more wholly into the universal, the collective universalism, we could say. Sun conjunct Mercury in Virgo, the sign of wholeness. Moon in Pisces across the way, and they are being T-squared, being crossed through by Uranus in Gemini. Now, Uranus is still moving forward and will not turn retrograde until the 10th of September. We'll have another update that talks more about this. But part of this interception of Uranus is bringing that connection of awakening, alivening, alovening into that earthly plane. So as the earth passes between the sun and Mercury and the moon, Uranus is basically crossing as well. Now, where Uranus is at 5 degrees of Gemini is actually exactly square to Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury also rules Virgo. So we have the expressive, twinning, dual-powered energy of Mercury in the earth sign that it holds template of, while it's squaring Uranus in that expressive air sign, Gemini, which it also is the template holder of. Now, then we have Uranus, who is the template holder of Aquarius, in trine still to Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. So we're feeling this movement of all of the elementals. And Aquarius, that 11th sign in our zodiac, is an air sign that is the water bearer. And it helps us to move more of the energy between the heart and the mind, to bring our expression up from the higher heart, up from that space of love, that space that love made, so that we are expressing. Now, Aquarius, the water bearer, also is feeding the manna from heaven, right? Pouring that liquid light upon the earth. So here we can feel that as this eclipse is occurring, and it will be most visible in the Americas. For those of us who are on the Pacific coast, the moon will rise as the eclipse is starting, so that's pretty cool too. But if you live anywhere in the Americas, especially the northern hemisphere of the Americas, this eclipse will be visible for you in the evening. We can feel all of it. We can feel how our deepest currents, now with the solar eclipse over at the Cosmic Collective, Blue Flame Apothecary, we're still in transition. On Circle, for that solar eclipse in the Lion's Gate, we shared the sacral Taurus transmission and activation. For the Pisces lunar eclipse, that's going to come out, and the violet blue flame activation is going to come into its place because we are rising up. We've earthed, we've come into that creative fire. We've stoked it. And now it's a purification and an expansion of our capacities. Purification and an expansion of our capacities to feel, to be alive, to be a love in the world, to share our light. Uranus, trine, Pluto, sextile Neptune, Uranus as well. Neptune sextile Pluto. Pluto and Neptune pointing the finger of God. Pointing the finger of God, that Yod, at the Sun and Mercury. Here we can feel. Have you picked up on how often we're saying feel in this update? This is not a mental plane activation. Even with all of that mercurial energy, we are feeling. It is bringing the connection between the Taurus field of the heart and the Taurus field of the mind into greater symbiosis. Part of the necessity of expanding the empathic capacities of humanity is when we feel the tree, we understand the tree. When we feel our fellow humans, we more fully understand our fellow humans. When we feel the truth that every cell of our body, every cell, all of the energetic molecules that make up this earthly physical plane are conscious. Our capacity to interact with those consciousnesses also expands. And when you can feel the pain and the love of each individual cell, of the consciousness of the plants in your house and on the street, and every bird and every flower and every bee and every animal, you're likely to be a bit more gentle, caring, nurturing of this all. So as we come through this final eclipse on that Pisces Virgo axis, this movement we have been in for the last 2 years-ish, we are moving, we are morphing from one state of beingness into our next state of beingness. One of the things that has been really loud as I've been navigating this personal journey through this eclipse wormhole is a movement of the difference between the phoenix and the butterfly. And within our inner sanctum space on 9/9, the day before Uranus turns retrograde, in fact, we're going to have a transmission share circle where we really explore what the difference between the phoenix and the butterfly experiences are. Part of the reason for this is because when we understand if we're in a moment of rebirth, or if we're in a metamorphic event, how to navigate those different planes. A rebirth, if you think about the phoenix ignites into full flaming winged glory and then returns to ash and then ignites again. And in these changes, stays mostly the same, right? There's a rebirthing. A transformation has occurred, a time of introspection, that ashen stage, of stasis even, although there's stuff happening in the ash as well. But the re-emergence comes through in the same form. The butterfly is completely transformed using all the component parts. So when we talk about this Pisces lunar eclipse and the emergence through this eclipse wormhole as metamorphic, what we're really saying is that we're moving from one type of being to another type of being using all the component parts that were inherent, that were available. It's complete cellular regeneration. So, how can you best navigate such a powerful and potent transformation? That is for you and your heart. Perhaps it's being still and allowing the space that you need in the chrysalis. Perhaps there's something for you to shed, something that you have been carrying for far too long, my friend, that you're ready now to shed. Perhaps it's making space for your wings, making space for this new being that you are becoming to emerge, this new way of moving through the world that is available for you. Holding space for others as they are transforming as well, and understanding that we are all in different spaces and places on this journey. Some of us are experiencing it in a very physical way. Some of us are experiencing it in a more subtle way. One of the reasons that it came through to talk about my personal moon being in the same location as the moon on this lunar eclipse is so that you could feel how where these things transit for you can affect how your personal experience of them is. Now, for us all collectively, we are, as it was said earlier, getting to experience what it's like to have a moon in Pisces, that strong empathy. Perhaps you have your sun being affected by this, and your sun is in Pisces, or your sun is in Virgo, or your sun is there where Uranus is, or perhaps it's your Mercury. The solar eclipse was on top of my natal Venus in Leo. So that magnetic, that pulling in and pulling up energy was very on blast for me, right? So look at your own personal chart, and if it calls to you, check the link below and we can have a consult together and explore it as well. But really look within yourself. So much of the energy that we're navigating right now, and as we move through the final days of this eclipse wormhole and emerge on the other side, with the nodes having fully shifted now into North Aquarius, South in Leo, is trusting individual knowing, heart knowing, and bringing that state of trust boldly into all your endeavors with the collective, to open the channel so that your higher self, your higher heart, is being wholly felt. We will have another update for September and the coming times. This metamorphosis is occurring very tangibly and viscerally within me and in this space that we're navigating together still right now in this moment. This page, this YouTube channel is called the Blue Flame Apothecary. It is in the process of changing, just like the circle space is in the process of changing. Guidance came through very loudly. Do not change anything until we get to the other side of the eclipse wormhole. So that is, I listen. That's part of my job, is to listen. It's part of all of our jobs. Before I close, the energies of Hecate. Hecate, queen of the witches, guardian of the crossroads, torch holder, want to share that they are, and I say they because Hecate is a triple goddess, they are sitting there with their torch on top of the Aquarius North Node. Hecate is moving retrograde, the asteroid named 4. And the nodes also move retrograde. So here we are being invited to allow some of this energy, some of this deeply felt energy of this lunar eclipse, to help us cast that light back to the where we have been, to look at the quantum leaps that have already occurred and let go of previous conventions as we gather the component parts together and collectively step into that open space of wholeness, stepping out of the gravity well. And remember, as Timothy Leary is quoted as saying, the caterpillar cannot comprehend the butterfly. So allow that open space where we can see that from which we came, but where it takes profound imagination. There's that Neptune energy. To see where we can go, the full scope of the where we can go. Thank you, my friends, for joining me. And as we open and feel the full scope of the where we can go in this collective metamorphic event horizon, I thank you for joining me, and I share with you, as always, in the always, so much and many loves, the dimensions of the all and beyond the beyond.